Hi folks, this is Christopher with the Healthy Transformations program. Dr.Breen isn't with me here today, but I'm certain that he'll have lots to say on this topic. In the program guide, it talks about having fresh greens and vegetables. So they're saying 6 daily servings, and each serving is a half to 1 cup. So that's 5 to 6 cups of vegetables a day. But that doesn't include your greens, which are 140 grams for your daily serving. So that's what it says here on page 4 in your guidebook. And lots of folks kind of get stuck on what does that look like. So in the beginning of the program, we encourage you to measure these things out. As you move through the program, you won't need to as much. But maybe partway through you start measuring again just to make sure you're pulling the right amounts out. So I'm going to show you what 140 grams of greens looks like and 5 to 6 cups of vegetables on top of that. And this is why we say people really shouldn't be hungry in this program, because there's so much to eat. First thing we're going to do is we're going to zero out the scale, and I'm going to measure out 140 grams of greens, which is what's in your daily schedule. So I'm just going to set the bowl on the scale, and I'm going to turn it on. That zeroes it out and calibrates it with the weight of the bowl as the 0. So we've got 0. We're going to open up our greens. We like this one in our house. It's an organic spring mix. You can get this at just about every grocery store in our city, certainly. This is your daily serving. So I'm going to show you different ways that you can use this now, because sometimes we get a little bit tired of all the chewing that it brings. This is quite a bit, and I'm going to show you different ways that you can eat it. Of course, you can eat it just like this in different portions throughout your day, but you can also break it up and do different things with it. So I'm going to show you some of the different things that you can do with it. What I want to do now is I'm going to zero out my scale, and I want to split the 140 grams of greens in half. So I need 70 grams of greens, and I'm just going to show you what a salad portion would look like that you might split into 2. So I'm going to put 70 grams of greens in here. We're at 71 grams, so that's close enough. And then what I want to show you is that you might just split this out over 2 meals. So it's a very reasonable portion size for a side salad with whatever else you might be eating. So this would be maybe for 2 meals as an example for the day. So you can see that they're not too bad, and nice big plates here, beautiful greens, they smell delicious. So I need 35 grams. That's 38, that's 34, so that's close enough. So I've got 34 grams in here, 36 grams in here, let's call it 35 even on both sides, just for the sake of what we're doing today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a pot that I can cover with a lid. I'm going to add a tablespoon of olive oil, and then I'll steam them down, and you can see what that looks like in terms of how you might consume greens that way. And there's certainly nothing wrong with this. Some folks say that maybe we're damaging the nutritional value of the greens. In our program, there might be some scientific proof for that, but what we say is if you're getting them in ya, you're getting them in ya, and that's the most important part. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a pot, and then we'll get started on cooking these down. Because this is my cooking show, it sounds like we're renovating the kitchen because the pots are not nicely stacked like it would be on a real TV show. But hey folks, this is real life. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a spatula to mix it around with. And we're just gonna add about a tablespoon or so of olive oil. And this just helps prevent it from sticking to the pan. And then we'll turn the oven on, probably a medium to low heat. And we'll dump that, we'll give the oil a second to heat up. So I've got the stove on now. Actually, we call it an oven here. The stove is the part that you bake stuff in. And you know what's really cool about this actually that I like to share is that I don't actually like spending time in my kitchen. So for me, the way that I live in this program is that I basically try to make everything as convenient as possible. So I'm just showing you different things you can do, but there's lots that you can do with this. Get creative, think, within the box is what we like to say, the Healthy Transformations box, and follow your program guide. I will add just a tiny little bit of salt to this. What that does is it helps evaporate some of the the moisture that's in it so that it's not a soupy mess. So I'm only taking half of this right now, which would be a quarter of your daily portion. I'm gonna go ahead and stick that in. I'll give it a bit of a mix around, and we'll cover it up and steam it down just so that you can see what that looks like. So I'll just get Kyle to take a shot of what's in the pot here, and you can see already how much they're steamed down. And you can steam them down as much as you want. This is perfectly fine. And you probably don't need to do a whole lot more. You can add pepper if you like for a little bit of flavor, not too much. And there's lots of other spices you can use that don't have sugar or glycemic response. And that only took me probably about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. And I'm just going to show you what this portion size looks like. So that's 35 grams of greens. You could throw that on a piece of chicken as for additional flavor and your nutrients. These, by the way, are the same amount of greens that you have. So you can imagine if you did all of your greens as steamed, they would maybe only fill half this bowl. So there's lots of ways to get those greens in you. You don't have to be chewing all day. So this is our last quarter of greens for the day. And I'm going to blend them up just so that you can see. So I am going to go ahead and grab my blender, which isn't in that cupboard. So I'm going to go ahead and blend these up now in my blender. We've got greens flying all over the place. This also works very well as confetti. So I'm gonna add about 10 ounces of liquid. That's about a cup and a quarter. We'll see if that's enough. In the program guide, it talks about having unsweetened coconut milk and water in the German chocolate shake recipe mix. I'm gonna use just about maybe a quarter of a cup of almond milk. You wanna be careful how much you have. And I'm gonna top the rest up with water. We'll blend this up. Again, you can add your shake mix to this. So you'd blend it first, then add your shake mix because you don't wanna damage the proteins, and you just give it a little at the end, a little bit of a zip with the shake mix in it, or you can mix it manually just because you don't want to damage the proteins with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a little bit of almond milk. I'm going to top the rest up with water, and we'll blend it and you can see what it looks like. I think that there are ways of making this taste better. I'm just giving you an example of what this could look like. Certainly there's more fun things that you could do with this. If this is one of your fruit days, you could throw in a small portion of fruit into the blender as well and sweeten it up a little bit. I'm just gonna dump this in and we'll give it a blend. If for some reason it's not enough liquid, I'll just add more water. And we splash the greens all over the place. It's a good thing that my spouse cleans the kitchen. And I'm gonna grab a cup. This is what, like, folks, look at this freaking mess here. You do not have to be in the kitchen to do this program. Play it safe. Take your greens to your living room in the container. Don't even need a fork, just eat them with your hands. Okay. I actually personally like that happened because I can show you that you don't have to be a master chef. So this is one portion of greens for the day, and actually, sorry, this is a quarter of your portion of greens for the day. It's really simple. I like the taste of it. It does not taste terrible. It's really simple. I'll show you what this looks like looking right beside all of the other greens. So this is what an entire day worth of greens could look like. Like we said, you could steam these down completely. You wouldn't even fill half of this plate if you'd done that. This is what you could have in the morning. You could even double the amount that you put in the shake if you want, because this is a pretty small size shake anyway. I do want to just let you know that my spouse walked up the stairs and looked at the mess in the kitchen. It's pretty incredible to me that dealing with 140 grams of greens, how messy I can make the place. One of the things I wanted to mention to you is that if you're steaming down more greens, you might actually put the lid on just while they're steaming down. It doesn't really take long, like I said, about a minute, maybe a minute and a half. With all of the greens for the day, it might be a little bit more. So you might use the lid in that case. We didn't in this case. So I'm a guy of convenience. You don't have to be a master chef to be in this program. If you have worked in a kitchen before, you're gonna watch me and you're gonna pray for me because I'm probably gonna slice my thumb open. That only happens once a week. They don't let me use knives the rest of the week. So I had to apply for a special exception to make sure that I could do this video. So actually, I'm not even gonna use the knife because quite frankly, I don't care. So I'm just going to show you what 5 to 6 cups of vegetables look like. You can eat different vegetables. You don't have to eat broccoli, cauliflower, and celery. That's just what I have here. Make sure you stick to what is in the program guide. Man, there's so many different vegetables on earth, and I bet you there's a ton of them you haven't even tried. When it comes to vegetables, what we are not including are things like that might be considered high glycemic. So things like potatoes and that kind of thing. We wouldn't necessarily include in this program because it is a little bit higher on the glycemic index. We're just going to go ahead and throw these in. So we have this 2 cups of celery. I'm going to dump that in right there. And these are all this is a full vegetable portion amount that you can eat throughout the day. And I'm going to grab the greens. As you know, I've already drank some of these greens, so the cup is a little emptier than it would be. And this is what your vegetables need to look like for the day. You can, of course, stir fry these down. They'll lose a little bit of bulk. They'll lose some of the water, so there's less chewing. You could bake them if you wish. Season them any way you like, as long as it doesn't have sugar in it. And there's certainly more diversity than what I've put in here, and tons of ways of getting it. So this is lots of food. Some folks come in and they say that they're hungry in our program, but if you're following the program guide and eating everything that you should be, you won't be hungry for any more than a week or two if you experience hunger at all. In fact, most of our participants say that it's too much food and they can't actually eat it all, which is a little bit surprising for an anti-inflammatory and weight loss program. So don't be surprised if you're one of those folks. And if you do have a little bit of hunger and you're eating everything that you're supposed to be eating, just give it a week or so, maybe 2, and you'll find that actually that hunger starts to go away as long as you're following the program guide. So, see, just about killed somebody with that knife there. So this is the Christopher Lawrence cooking show, where almost no cooking took place, and nobody died. I didn't slice a finger. I came out with all of my digits. Thanks very much, guys. I hope this was helpful.